Hi, this is Annette King with Wild Heart Ranch. We've started a series called Wild Bytes. You're watching episode 1, and we're real excited. From the very beginning of Wild Heart Ranch, almost 2 decades ago, I found it is important to care about the animals we don't see or get in. They're as important for our concern as the ones that we do help physically. So this is just a little informational spot that we're going to try to produce once a week, and we ask that you share it. The more people that are aware and care, the more animals can avoid needing a wildlife rehabilitator. Wildlife rehabilitators work all around the country. We are licensed by the states we live in. There are very few grants for wildlife rehabilitation. As a matter of fact, most of us have to pay to do this job and buy our licensing every year. And donations are few and far between because, let's face it, you know, a lot of people don't care for the wild animals as much as we do, or they feel that nature is taking its course whenever one winds up in trouble. But the statistics that we see every day are that 99% of what comes in is not nature taking its course and an animal winds up in trouble. It is literally man's interference. We are moving into their spaces and they're trying to live around us. And it's really hard when we build roads and fences and we have dogs and cats and so forth. And well-meaning people sometimes kidnap animals, and that happens as well. But what I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about, since it is February, which the babies that come in to our rescue here in Oklahoma in February are the squirrels. And so far, all of the baby squirrels that have come in orphaned this year have been tree cutting orphans. And your tree cutting orphans are accidental orphans that are caused because somebody has cut down a tree and there's a squirrel's nest in it. At this point, Greg's going to show you what a squirrel's nest looks like. So hopefully he can edit this in and you're looking at a picture of a squirrel's nest in a tree. When you see this in a tree, it may or may not be occupied. It's hard to tell. So the question you want to ask yourself is, how necessary is it for this tree to come down? Well, sometimes trees fall in houses, or they're threatening to fall, or it's a real problem that has to come down. If you drop a tree and you find a squirrel's nest, either the one we showed you that looks kind of like a bird's nest, or the squirrels would be in a hollow part of the tree in a hole. The best thing to do if the weather is mild enough is to wait. Vacate the area, don't touch it for a little bit, watch from a distance as possible, and see if Mama comes and gets her babies and moves them. Most times she will. If she's given the space and the quiet and the peace to do it, she will come and move all the babies. If the weather is extremely cold and we don't want to chance the babies laying on the ground and freezing to death, well, that's a situation that can't be helped. So the babies need to be picked up. Here's some of our little tree cutting orphans. Now these are fox squirrels. We have them in a cage that is an intermediate. This is after they come out of their incubation tubs. They go into these wire cages. They sleep in hammocks. And these are fox squirrels. They are getting very wild. They've got their eyes open. My formula is sitting here in a little double boiler. It keeps it from getting cold and keeps it from scorching. On a candle warmer, which is what I came up with to keep our formula warm. Sometimes we're feeding 300 or 400 infants a day, and it's easier to get through it if we're keeping our formula at a consistent temperature. And this is a special syringe. It's called an O-ring syringe, and it's got a nipple on there called a miracle nipple that was invented by a wildlife rehabilitator. And these guys are eating nothing but the best. Zoologic 3340. We raise all of our infants on Zoologic products. We recently raised some wolf cubs that got huge. They're wolf hybrids, wolf dogs. And we raised them on Zoologic 3340, and at 5 weeks old, they were the size of 8-10 week pups. And actually had a lady yesterday call me a liar, saying that the puppies were not 5 weeks old. Yes, they're 5 weeks old. They're just huge. And Pet Ag Zoologic is why. I mean, it's just an incredible formula. And our babies are big, and they're strong, and they're healthy. They eat great. They love the taste. And we pretty much get through the whole season on 3 basic formulas, which I like. So, yeah, I don't mean to be a Pet Ag commercial. It's just when I believe in a product, I talk about it. It's just the way I am. But anyway, these are what happens when a tree is cut down and Mama doesn't retrieve the babies. They come into wildlife rehabilitators and they get care. We do this every few hours, sometimes around the clock, depending on the condition of the baby. And every wildlife rehabilitator that's been in it for as long as I have, they have arthritis in their right hand, and this is why. Thousands and thousands of syringe feedings every year. And we don't mind. It's a great sacrifice, and our babies live. But one thing I wanted to point out is that wildlife rehabilitation is not a mainstream rescue niche. It is few and far between, and the people that do this are not all blessed to have a nonprofit facility and a team of volunteers like we do to handle the load. Most of them are just doing the best they can, taking care of what they can physically manage on their own. So I ask everybody this time of year, call your game wardens. Find out who is taking in wild animals in your area. Call that person up, see what they need, because they're working out of love, but love does not pay for formula. They need your help. And if you care about the wildlife in your community, in your area, find out who's doing the work. And if you can't volunteer to help with the babies, volunteer to be a transporter. See what you have to do to be legal to bring these animals in, because when you're dealing with these kind of feeding schedules, you don't have time to go get them all. And a lot of callers won't bring them to us. They call and they say, hey, I've done my part, I've called you. And it's up to us to go get the animals or they perish. So being a transporter is a great way to volunteer. And call your wildlife rehabilitators, find out what they need. You know, be a part of a good thing. You know, it's not a big commitment to be a transporter or even collect supplies. So anyway, we hope that this episode of Wild Bytes has taught you something. And these little guys would appreciate you spreading the word. He still thinks he's eating. Yeah, he's still going for it. Spread the word about squirrels and trees and what we can do to avoid making orphans. In Oklahoma, we have spring orphans and fall orphans. So this is the time for spring, and then fall will produce another crop of kids. We'll grow them up, get them wild, and turn them loose, fat and sassy, into the trees. And they'll be there to plant our nuts and grow more trees and do their job, because they all have a job, and so do we. And I better get back to work. So thanks for following. Thanks for watching. Have a wild spring.